not a secret how much free quality information Wager Talk, Sports Moment, and the Gold Sheet produce. And next up, we're giving out the Wager Talk College Basketball Guide. This might be the most informative collection of sports betting info we've ever produced. We're covering returning starters, offensive, defensive, and tempo rankings, recruiting rankings, head coaching info and background, and so much more. Even if you are the casual basketball fan, head over to the Ralph Michaels page and download this amazing guide for free.
All right, welcome in here as we get a little bit closer to Santa's favorite holiday, our favorite holiday here at the end of 2022, just around the corner. It's another edition on this 22nd of December of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. I'm Joe Raineri, joined by one an esteemed panel, maybe the best-looking damn panel you're going to see all day long here with our friends Ralph Michael. And, of course, Dave Koken. And he's back again. We didn't scare him off last week, that being Tony Mejia, in between writing 1,000 articles for the Gold Sheet, getting his plays up and ready to rock and roll. He finds time to squeeze us in. So thank you, gentlemen. Off and running on a loaded card here today in college basketball. And, Tony, let me start with you since it's been a little while since we've seen you last week. How's it been going? How'd you do last night? What do you got going on at Wager Talk right now?
Well, I've got a pair of college basketball plays, and I've got a pair of college bowl picks, and I've got a pair of NBA plays with the league kicking off tonight. So that'll be fantastic to get NBA going. We've got a full Christmas Day card as well. NBA obviously does the holiday up as well as possible and made for TV matchups. So looking forward to all of that. UCF beat Florida State over the weekend, so my alma mater is looking good as they play tonight in a matchup that I also like against Cincinnati. But yeah, you know, we're off and running. It's always interesting to see how these kids handle, you know, the holidays and playing with schedules going. Right now we're into conference play, the Big 12. We got a couple of matchups to break down, so always fun and looking forward to talking hoops with you guys.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Games on tap today, guys, that we are going to cover include West Virginia at Kansas. We're going to talk Texas Tech, Oklahoma, as well as San Diego State coming off of that loss to BYU, taking on St. Mary's, and the Carolinas. North Carolina taking on the NC State. All on tap for you. We'll break these games down for you coming up. Want to bring in, of course, Mr. Dave Koken, who, congratulations, Dave, another money-making day yesterday for you in college hoops. Also, your free play here on the show that you broke down. That, too, came through. Brian taking down UMass. All good stuff and really starting to get your finger on the pulse of what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm kind of back in my routine in college basketball. I was playing too many games. Looking at some angles that I thought might produce, and they weren't really doing that well. And I'm kind of back to the 1 or 2 games a day, even on a big schedule. Swept them yesterday with a pair of dogs. One was a pretty easy cover, and the other was an outright winner. And more dogs today. One of them is a free play, which already tipped off, so too late for that, but I do have a best bet later on. And I have my first bowl selection up. It's not on one of today's games, and I'm going to be very, very disciplined in these bowls. I'll probably have less bowl selections this year than I've ever had, and that has to do with what's going on in the world. It's as simple as that. Just a lot of distractions out there. But I do have one that I like quite a bit and posted that as a best bet. It's for later this week, and it's available now on my homepage at Wager Talk.
Yep. And, of course, we have Mr. Ralph Michaels joining us as usual. And, Ralph, we're going to talk about a way that folks who are watching right now, they can invest in anybody here on the panel for get a full month starting in 2021 of college basketball picks. We'll tell them how to do that at a discounted price. But congratulations last night. A few more winners for you, too, as well. You've been red hot, #1 at Wager Talk since December 7th, Ralph. So congratulations.
Thanks. Another 2 in one day. And college basketball card, you know, even the games that I've left off have had success. So expanding the card, I actually have 5 plays available. And, you know, as a thank you this week with Christmas, I put them all in one package. So 4 college basketball plays and a bowl game, which is a 4% play for $29. 2 of my college games do tip off at 3 o'clock Eastern. So if you're watching live, make sure you get over now.
All right, there we go. A lot going on. We'll take a look at last night quickly, like we usually do on the show. We'll start with some of the top performers that we witnessed last night, and there were a few. It wasn't a big card last night, but there were certainly some head-scratching results there, Ralph. Did not understand the Missouri State line. It flipped at some point during the day against Little Rock. Missouri State opened up as a favorite, ended up as a dog there, but Missouri State and Isaiah Mosley came to play last night, Ralph.
Yeah, they sure did. They look good doing it, and it's 26 points, 8 and 6. So I love those guys that have above 5 in each. So it's and Gonzaga's Gonzaga. Of course, you're playing Northwestern State. We'll see. But I just got to reach out. Who doesn't love Gonzaga? You already have the number 1 toughest schedule, and then Virginia calls. Bring on Virginia! What the hell? Let's face another top 10 team. So God bless them.
It was an impressive night by Gonzaga. Both Baylor too, Dave. I don't know if there's much to take away from the YMCA teams that they were playing yesterday, but I think it's clear at this point. Is it to you that Baylor and Gonzaga are the cream of the crop at this point?
Yeah, I guess so. Although I don't really care much about that. When the tournament begins, that's fine. But I really pay very little attention to the rankings. I don't know what the polls have. I don't care.
Oh, screw the polls. I'm just saying from a basketball perspective, these two teams seem to be playing at just a different level right now.
I think Gonzaga is. Gonzaga's the best team in the country. Well, maybe they're not. I don't know. Baylor's right there with them.
Yeah.
I think you can.
I have Baylor number 1 in my power ratings. Yeah.
Do you really, Ralph?
Only by half point.
I do.
Yeah.
I think I actually do too. But I think Gonzaga's a better team.
Yeah.
And part of that is Mark Few. But you could throw a blanket over several teams, to me. It's just not something from a handicapping standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? I mean, it doesn't matter because from a handicapping standpoint, I might find a game between number 220 and number 250 to be the one that's worth investing in. That's why betting shows are different than the normal talking head college basketball shows where they just focus on the top teams. I couldn't care less about who the top teams are. I'm involved in 2 games today, and I can guarantee you that none of the 4 teams I'm involved with are going to sniff the NCAA tournament. Who cares? Bryant was my best bet yesterday. Bryant.
Yeah.
The Northeast Conference. That's what this is all about. So you guys want to talk about Baylor and Gonzaga? Talk away. I don't care about that stuff.
Well, I'm talking about it from the standpoint of that I can guarantee you who the public's going to bet anytime a Gonzaga or a Baylor team is involved in a matchup. Yeah. And you don't have to look any further. And I know you don't do totals, but I'll give you a perfect example last night. Gonzaga opened up as a 166-point. And, Tony, I don't know if you noticed this either. They opened up at it ended up in the 170s for a total there. It didn't even remotely come close. Why? Because the public, every time they see Baylor and Gonzaga right now, are all over them. It's an instant bet for them, Tony.
Well, I mean, Baylor zones up a little more, but the Zags play like a pro team, especially with Jalen Suggs control. Look, we would have had Gonzaga against Baylor if it wasn't for COVID-19. The game was closed out right before tip-off, I think an hour beforehand on a Saturday, where we had so much else going on that it almost went under the radar. But I would favor Gonzaga at a neutral site over Baylor, and I do expect those two to be among Final Four favorites. But, Koken's right. At this point, we're into December. We're barely getting started, so plenty of time to dive into who actually is the best.
Yeah, now
Joe, I'm going to disagree for 1 second.
Sure.
One thing I think that is important is this. As popular as Baylor is, they're still 6-0 against the spread. They laid 43 points yesterday. They had a 43-point halftime lead. So when you are a public favorite and you're laying more than you should and you continue to cover those games, I think it is valid to bring up.
Throw that,
but one argument, and they did, they have done well, but they're not. They're good. Will they remain public favorites at huge numbers in the Big 12? Because it's going to get factored into the price. They might be public favorites,
right?
But I think despite the fact they're 6-0 or whatever 5-0 against the spread, there's going to be value in playing against Baylor with inflated numbers moving forward.
Yep.
So that's
No
where
question.
I do pay attention to the rankings in terms of garnering an indication of where the money's going to show, or where the ticket count's going to show, and then looking at where the money's going, because that can be an indicator as well.
Yeah, throw that list up, Will, if you could. This was something Ralph had come up with today. We showed it on Wager Talk today, but this is, Ralph, currently the best and worst college basketball teams against the numbers. And we see the left-hand side with the teams, and you mentioned Baylor at the top there. The teams to the right, certainly not wowing anybody at this point.
I'll tweet this out, but, here's my take on it. I really don't care about the teams that are very good ATS because they're going to come back. But you still have some value playing against the bad teams against the spread. Butler still gets valued. Northern Iowa still gets valued. Memphis gets valued. We talked about them yesterday. And there are some issues with those teams. So while the left side is great and people go, wow, I tend to look at the teams performing poorly that the public still wants to bet. So, I'll tweet that out later for you guys to see it. It was just a simple chart. But, like I said, we've talked about a lot of those teams on the right that have struggled for a certain reason. And again, next couple weeks, you're still going to be able to play against them and get some value. I think, Tony, you have one of those lined up against Cincinnati, right? Your UCF team tonight.
Correct. And I think this is the worst Cincinnati team that has been in place in about a decade. Northern Iowa, who's on that list, they squandered a lead against St. Mary's. Unforgivable. They were up in 16 points in the second half. I was on the losing side of that. And they haven't really recovered since. That was an early.
Well, they did lose the Mountain West Player of the Year too. So they lost the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. He is out for the rest of the season. Yep. So that there is a reason they're down for sure.
Yeah, AJ Green.
No question.
That guy's a player. I mean, I don't think he's an NBA player, but he's one of those college basketball players he's a glue guy, and they're really going to miss him.
Yep, that's one of the games on the card here tonight, too. I just want to throw up some of those big covers and from last night, some of the overs and unders as well. That Memphis-Tulsa game that we talked about here, guys, on the show yesterday, it was a question of whether or not they were going to get to 99, even 100. I mean, no kidding, Dave. I mean, it was a struggle to watch that last night.
Horrid performance by Memphis in the second half. I mean, they were up 9 points, and that just melted quickly. And mentioned this yesterday, and I think this is valid. They've got a lot of talent, but I don't know about, and he just signed an extension, so he's going to be there for a long time. And Hardaway's going to be a great recruiter. I don't know about the X's and O's, though. We've seen him get out-coached on a fairly regular basis. He's going to have to bring in a really good X's and O's assistant. I just mentioned a guy, he's retired now, but Max Good was one of those guys. We had him out here at UNLV for a while. And Max was, I don't know that Max was a great head coach, but he was a fabulous assistant coach because, I mean, he knew what he was doing as far as X's and O's are concerned and was a tremendously valuable assistant coach. I think Penny's going to have to get one of those guys, or he's just going to keep getting out coached in games.
Yep. Butler, we talked about, of course, yesterday here on the show as well, and weren't sure whether they're going to rotate 7 guys like they've been doing. And Ralph, at 9.5 spread there, it seemed a little high here when we talked about it yesterday, but certainly Southern Illinois gets the win outright.
Well, we had a top 5 3-point shooting against a bottom 23-point defense, and it came to fruition. The one thing I want to mention on yesterday's biggest covers, not because I was on that side, Craig Smith at home with Utah State. If this team is close to being tied at the half, they absolutely extend the lead better than any team I've ever seen in the second half. So, I mean, there's always live betting situations to look with them. They just dominate. They play 100% every minute of that game, and just no matter who they're playing, it seems they extend the lead in the second half when I'm watching them.
Good night last night.
I want to mention one more team.
True.
And that's Tennessee. Because we knew how good they were defensively, and now they found an offense. And that we talked about them already this season. That's a dangerous team. I mean, that to me is a legit Final Four contender. And I think they're going to be a good spread team too, because they play defense for 40 minutes. And they're gonna end up wiping some teams out in the SEC.
Yeah, that total 140. We're in the 140s. They had over 100 themselves in that game last night. And they're just shutting people down on the defensive side. Let's dive into some of these games. By the way, guys, first I want to let everyone know when it comes to Tony Mejia, Ralph Michaels, Dave Koken, you can catch them on Twitter. As a matter of fact, I would absolutely make sure what you guys do today is check all of them out on Twitter right now. Tony Mejia there, Dave Koken, Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. Make note of that, guys. Follow them. Always great content coming out from the three of these gentlemen all week long, every day, across all the sports landscapes. If you want to be a better sports investor, you want to be a little bit more profitable, definitely follow these three gentlemen. And Tony, I'm going to start with you. We're going to take a look at game number 1 on the card here tonight. How about Oklahoma taking on Texas Tech, who coming off of that loss from Kansas, I believe that was last Thursday, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. They've got a problem scoring. They don't have a problem playing defense. It's a short number here tonight. How do you see this game unfolding?
Well, yeah, Chris Beard's teams always play defense, so you can count on that. Mac McClung and Terrence Shannon combined for 41 of the 57 points against Kansas. So it's an instance where other guys have to get going. Oklahoma, they're going to get production out of Brady Manick and Austin Reeves. Reeves, to me, is a pro, and I think that makes the difference. And at home, especially with Oklahoma being able to get to where their spots are in an arena like that, you can throw out that not having the crowd in there, whereas these guys actually feel comfortable where they're at. So yeah, to me, I think this Texas Tech team is probably a few steps back from what we've seen out of the Red Raiders over the previous couple seasons, simply because they don't have the numbers depth-wise. So I like the Sooners in that.
Sooners, pretty good, Dave. They've in 5 of their 6 wins, they've been looking good lately. Haven't necessarily played anybody, but how do you see them going up at home against this Texas Tech team?
I'm not sold on Oklahoma right now. They've faced 2 quality teams so far. They managed to get behind TCU, and they struggled in that game. They finally got them in the second half. Only won by 4, though. And their other decent opponent was Xavier, which is an okay team, and Xavier absolutely crushed them. So they haven't shown up yet. Texas Tech, to me, looks like the better team at this point, although they also have lost their only 2 games against quality opponents. And they got throttled pretty good by Houston. The Kansas game obviously could have gone either way. I think Texas Tech pulls out a very close game. And, they're going to slow Oklahoma down, which Oklahoma doesn't like. If the Sooners can force some tempo in this game, then they'll win. But I tend to favor defensive teams in these games, and that gives the edge for me to Texas Tech.
And Ralph, 2 of the best coach teams in college with Longcrew and Chris Beard. You're not going to get any better than these 2 guys. It's an interesting, certainly from a pace perspective and how they like to play. How do you see this unfolding here tonight?
Well, I'm going to agree with Dave. I'm going to look at defense in this, and you look at who Oklahoma has faced, and Oklahoma's top defense they faced was TCU, and that was a game that they won by 4. TCU, by the way, was ranked number 47 in Ken Palm's defense efficiencies. Texas Tech is number 1. So if I think is the better team and basically a toss-up game with the number 1 defense coming off a loss, that's the direction I have to look.
All right. Well, let's take a look, guys, at another team there from the Big 12. How about West Virginia taking on Kansas tonight? Another game a lot of eyeballs are going to be on. And, Dave, I'll start with you. This Kansas team, so they lost to Gonzaga. So what? This team they have been on fire ever since losing that first game, taking on a team that we know likes to play some defense as well. Where do you see this landing here in this game? It's not a very big number. It's what, 2, opened up at 2, 2.5. I'm seeing 1.5s now. How do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, look, West Virginia is very good. But this is the type of game West Virginia simply hasn't been winning under Bob Huggins. And you can go back to Huggies' days at other schools. They don't win these games. He's never been, in my opinion, he has never been a good big game coach. And this falls into the big game category. I think Kansas is going to find a way to win the game again. And one thing we're seeing out of Kansas is that we knew they'd be pretty good offensively. They're really good defensively. Their defensive numbers are absolutely outstanding so far. And I don't think West Virginia, I don't think is going to create the turnovers that they need to win. That's the problem. And why my knock on Huggins has always been he's a one-direction coach. When his scheme is working, when he's forcing the turnovers, forget about it. Nobody can beat him. But against the real quality teams who don't turn the ball over and are able to handle that press, or at least figure it out after about 10 minutes, they get in trouble because they don't know how to do anything else. He's not the most versatile coach who ever lived. I know that's not a popular theory because Huggins is probably a Hall of Famer, but I think he's overrated as a coach, to be quite honest. And I think it's going to show in this game. I think West Virginia has a very good chance West Virginia gets out to a lead in this game. It causes some turnovers early and maybe gets Kansas in a little bit of a hole. But the Jayhawks will solve that offense or that defense as the game goes along. And I think West Virginia will melt eventually. Kansas gets them in the end. I don't know if they win by a lot, but they'll do enough to get the win, and I think the cover as well.
I agree with Dave 100%. You know, West Virginia tends to make things a little bit more difficult than they need to be. You don't have to look any further than the Iowa State game last week on Friday, Tony. That was way closer than it ever needed to be. In the meantime, Kansas just keeps coming at you. They are destined to win a national championship one of these days. They're not going to stop until they do. How do you see this game tonight working out?
I mean, the Jayhawks have gotten lucky, I'll say, in their close games. Like Baji made a layup in Lubbock to beat Texas Tech last week. They were fortunate that Creighton missed a free throw that would have sent that game into overtime. I think they would have lost. So, you know, Kansas has beaten West Virginia in 4 straight. So you have a situation where Self has owned Huggins. In breaking down this game, my notes tell me I like the under 141, probably a little too steep. West Virginia 39th in the country in opposing three-point percentage. Jayhawks, if you keep them down from that standpoint, keep them off the free throw line, I think they're beatable. So I would tend to take West Virginia plus the points, if not for the history that these gentlemen have mentioned with Self and Huggins. But my lean would be the under.
And Ralph, I'm starting to see the number come down a little bit towards West Virginia. It opened up in 3 in a lot of places. I'm seeing a couple of 2s popping up here. So Kansas at home against this team in West Virginia. What do you think is going to happen here tonight?
Well, Tony, the number you gave, it's actually down to 139 or 138 and a half across the board. So there's some people that agree with you. You know, Joe, you said that Kansas lost to Gonzaga and has won all 7 games besides that. Let's not forget, West Virginia has only lost to Gonzaga and has won all 7 games besides then. So West Virginia lost to Gonzaga by 5. Kansas lost to Gonzaga by 12. Does it mean that West Virginia is a better team? No, I'm just kidding. Stop.
That's a hell of a way. That's a hell of a way to get from A to B, Ralph. That's amazing.
I'm gonna go back and agree with Dave. You know, West Virginia has played 1 true road game, and that was Georgetown, and that was it. So now they have to go on the road, and you look at their numbers, and you look at KenPom, and they're semi-confusing. Their adjusted offense efficiency is number 19, but their effective field goal percentage is 243. Why? Dave talked about it. When they get pressure against weaker teams, they get a lot of easy scores. They do exactly what they want. If they got to sit back and play defense and pass the ball around, they are not an efficient team. I think Kansas defense shuts them down. And, you know, this is Self in Kansas, where he is 268 and 14. So they play pretty good there in Allen Fieldhouse. Just FYI, 2,500 fans. So there will be flavor. It's not just friends and family. There will be, I think, enough noise to give Kansas a little bit of a boost.
All right, there you go. And guys, do want to remind you as well, opportunity for you to sign on with any one of these gentlemen right now. 30 days all access in college basketball. If you head over to WagerTalk.com, all you got to do is drop in the code CBB40. That's CBB40. You're going to get $40 off any 1-month college basketball all-access package with either Ralph, Dave, or Tony Mahir. That's usually 189. It's a great opportunity for you to start off 2021 on the right foot, make it a profitable college basketball season, just getting started. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. Write that code down, CBB40. And let's take a look at that North Carolina State game, which has flipped from the open when we're looking at North Carolina State at home here as North Carolina is traveling to Raleigh. They were a 1.5-point favorite, North Carolina State. Now that is swapped. I'm looking at 1.5s for North Carolina. And Dave, I'll start with you here. It's been North Carolina's series. They have owned North Carolina State here. Were you shocked with the number at where it opened and where it's at now?
No, on either count. I thought there was a good chance NC State might be a small favorite, and I thought North Carolina would take money. And I don't disagree with it. Look, the Tar Heels are huge. They're one of the really biggest teams in the country. And I think that height advantage could be in play in this matchup. You got to think North Carolina is going to be able to do some damage on the offensive glass and get some second chances. And I don't know that NC State's going to be able to do the same thing. So what NC State's going to have to do here is make the most out of where they have the advantage. They're a good shooting team. They can knock it down from long range. They can knock it down from inside. And they're going to have to make their shots tonight. If they're making their shots, they've got a good chance to win this game. North Carolina doesn't shoot the basketball very well. And particularly don't shoot it well from outside. I don't know. I'm kind of in no man's land on this game. I think that the fundamentals maybe favor North Carolina a little bit because, I tend to like the tall teams that clean the glass, but I'm not comfortable enough to play it. So, and particularly not comfortable with the number being where it is now. Any value on North Carolina has been sucked out already.
It's Tony. I'll ask you. I'm looking at the line starting to creep up from a total perspective. 144.5. I'm seeing 147s out there right now. Defense usually wins the day here. Do you think either of these two have enough defense to be able to stop the other offense?
I mean, it really is about pace. I think Roy Williams always plays at faster tempo. They do the secondary breaks. That's his specialty. Kevin Keats likes to press and go fast. But you can't bet this game until you find out who's in the lineup for NC State. Because Koken's right. Size-wise, the Tar Heels have a huge edge. If DJ Funderburk doesn't play, it's even larger. And the Wolfpack were out-rebounded 53-26 by St. Louis in last week's loss. That had to do with Funderburk being out. Ebenezer Duwuna also didn't travel in that game. He's 6'11". They'll need him. And the point guard, the freshman, Cam Hayes, all those guys are game time decisions due to COVID protocols. If they play, I like the Wolfpack. If they don't, Tar Heels win. Simple as that.
Yeah, certainly not a big problem being on the road. I think they're about 30, 40 minutes away from each other from Chapel Hill heading to Raleigh, Ralph. So this is no fans in the place. It's not like North Carolina State's going to have anything to be able to hang their hat on as as some sort of alternate force they are helping them along in this game against North Carolina.
Well, I think the fans certainly would be a huge boost to NC State because they are a pressing team. I mean, Roy Williams gave, Coach Speak 101 this morning. Well, NC State full court presses, and they actually press to try to steal the ball. They just don't try to press to slow you down. And I have two freshman guards. I'm scared as hell, with Love and Davis in the backfield against that press. So, they start three freshmen. What do you make of a team that has had 5 games already? They've played 7 games, and 5 times they've trailed by double digits in the first half. You can only come back so many times. They were down against Kentucky when they came back. But, I agree. I lean North Carolina, with or without Funderburk, just because NC State numbers don't prove anything to me. They played 4 teams that from the Ken Palm numbers are 274 or higher. They've played 1 team in the top 274. That was St. Louis, and they lost by 11. So, be it, yes, they have the personnel to play better than that. Yes, perhaps they have only played that 1 road game, and it was against St. Louis, and now they're back at home. But, clear lean for me to the Tar Heels.
All right, and one final game on the card here tonight, guys, that we'll take a look at. Late start, St. Mary's taking on San Diego State. Late, I say 9 o'clock Eastern time here with both of these teams. San Diego State coming off of that loss to BYU. And St. Mary's has been winning some games here. And, Dave, I'll start with you. They've been winning, but not necessarily impressively. This San Diego State team might be a little bit upset with that last game against BYU. The number is 2.5 at this point. How do you see it working out here tonight?
I do not think this is one of St. Mary's better teams. I mean, I'm not disparaging them. They're still a good team and might be a bubble team for the tournament. But I don't think it's a great team. And I think they're catching San Diego State on the wrong night. The Aztecs did not play a good game against BYU. They were particularly, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but they got outworked in that game by BYU, especially on the boards. And I think Dutcher's not going to have to make a speech to get his team ready to play this game. I don't think it's a slaughter by any means, and I didn't put it on my card. But I do think San Diego State bounces back from a bad game and gets in the win column here. And the line's short enough so that the only side I'd play would be the Aztecs.
Yep, Tony, it's
Joe.
Yep, go ahead, Ralph.
Joe, let me just jump back to Koken because, Dave, one thing impressed the hell out of me. I remember back on 2 weeks ago's show, you had San Diego State over Irvine. You had San Diego State over Arizona State. And then you said, I like BYU against San Diego State, and they win. So, I mean, are there a lot of teams that you get that you feel that good where you pick up that many right scenarios in a row where you feel how the team is playing?
You left out a game because I had Pepperdine as a play against San Diego State, and they almost beat them. They should have beat them. San Diego State's one of the teams I follow really closely. They're a Mountain West team and get to see almost all their games. And I do feel like I've got a good handle on the team. I probably should get involved with best bets on more of their games. We'll see if I regret not doing so tonight. I might very well get involved with them when they play UNLV in one of the two games over the weekend because I think they're going to give UNLV some real headaches.
It's funny, Tony, too. We look at this. The total is at 126 right now, but we've got two offenses that combined average about 145 points together here. So how do you see this matchup working out? St. Mary's neutral court, too, by the way, I believe, here against San Diego State.
Yes, right. They're playing this in San Luis Obispo due to COVID protocols. Look, I've got a best bet on this game, so I'm going to keep the defense for what it is. But you mentioned the defense. The Gales have done a really nice job defending their top 25 in field managed defense. They just held Colorado State to 33 points in a blowout win. I had Eastern Washington against them in a game the Eagles covered 80-75, and Eastern actually has done probably the most damage against them. Again, I'll leave you in suspense as to what my best bet is on this one. But I'll break that down later. This is one of the games that I will have my eyes on closest, while also keeping tabs on the NBA getting started, obviously.
All right, love it, and we'll get to those best bets here in just a second, along with our Gold Sheet play of the day. Do want to remind you guys again, WagerTalk.com. Follow these guys on Twitter, as well as take advantage of the opportunity to get an all-access college basketball pass right now at WagerTalk.com for any one of them. $40 off. Just use that code CBB40 at checkout. And Ralph, I mean, listen, for $189 is what it is normally. You get $40 off. Heading into January it's a heck of an opportunity to get on board and to be able to get yourself acclimated to a college basketball season where for some they're just starting to begin to look at it.
Yeah, I will say this about the special. That $40 special, you could take off a $189 price for college basketball only, or Dave's talked about bowls and NFL and Tony NBA and bowls. You can use that same code, $40 off for 30-day all access. I do want to say something about the San Diego State game.
Sure.
People think 126, there's no value. I think there's value in the under. You have number 353 in tempo, number 330 in tempo. You have both teams that faced offenses that played much higher tempo. Therefore, their scoring was up. In this game against these two teams, I think 126 does have value on the under.
On the under, even still. Okay, interesting stuff there. Guys, let's take a look at our Gold Sheet play of the day, Ralph. And, last night, I do not believe that our Gold Sheet play of the day hit yesterday there, but we're looking at Cincinnati, Central Florida here in this game tonight.
Well, I've been told by more than a few people on Twitter, stop using totals. So I think I'm like 5-0 picking sides, and I've lost 3 straight on totals. So I listen. Twitter people, I listen. Central Florida, we talked about Cincinnati struggling. This UCF team, Johnny Dawkins, hasn't playing great. I will tweet out this entire write-up so you can see the new Gold Sheet format for this season for college basketball. And I have not seen the NBA. Tony, is the format the same for the NBA write-ups?
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay.
I love it. I was going to say, that looks like some real familiar writing right there. And
I will say that's my pick right there, Ralph, the UCF Cincinnati game. So I'll take credit for that one. No homer at all here in liking the Knights against Cincinnati. They really look good in beating Florida State. They've got some transfers that Johnny Dawkins is getting acclimated to playing together. I mean, they've only played 3 games now and are 2-1. They went out to Michigan, had an early lead, and just completely fell apart. So you're looking at a team that is learning to play together on the fly. Brandon Mahan, the transfer from I forget where he started, is
Florida, I believe.
Somebody that yes, it's somebody that they have to get going. But the way that UCF can generate production from the perimeter, I think makes them a very scary play, especially for Cincinnati, who isn't quite as adept defensively as they had been, under their previous regime.
All right, well, we'll get to the best bets here. We'll go around the horn. I'll start with Dave Koken here as far as the games. And a reminder, guys, Dave's got college basketball play up here tonight. He's got his bowl game up as well. Opportunities to make it a profitable day right now at Dave's page at WagerTalk.com. But, Dave, as far as the games tonight over here, what are you going to break down for us?
This would have been my 3rd game. I just didn't want to go 3 deep today. But I like Bradley getting points against Missouri. Bradley's a solid defensive squad. They're going to treat this as a big game because it's a marquee opponent. It's a big sandwich for Missouri. They're coming off the rivalry game with Illinois, which was a thriller that they won, and they've got a monster game against Tennessee on deck. It's not till next Wednesday, but even with the break, I think that's a bit of a look ahead. They'll do what they'll do what they need to do, win the game, but double digits, I don't know, against a team that plays a slower pace as Bradley and is very well coached as well. I think the underdog hangs around in this game, so Bradley plus the points is my selection.
Love it. And, Tony, I'll go to you, my friend. You mentioned it. You left us hanging here. Talk to us about this game tonight, San Diego State.
Well, I'll be generous in giving you the lean on my total. I'm with Ralph. I think that there's value in the under. So I love the under here, and even more so considering it's a neutral site. So neither team has an advantage in terms of being familiar with sight lines and whatnot. And I think pace will make this a race to 60. So give me the under there. But my favorite play on this game is San Diego State. I think St. Mary's has played a very favorable schedule. Haven't seen the length that Brian Dutcher's team brings to the table. Love Dutcher coming off a loss too with the Aztecs. They were 30-2 last year, so won both of their games, or their one game that coming off a loss. Last season, their season actually ended on that second loss. So give me San Diego State to cover 2.5, 3 points, and also leaning towards the under. Happy holidays.
All right, good stuff there, Tony Mejia. Ralph Michaels, talk to us. What are you going? You're not going to give a total, are you?
No, Joe, Dave talked earlier about he doesn't care about 1s and 2s. He finds value at 220s. Screw 220s. I used a 356 with Chicago State last year, and I'm using a number 320 team today.
Oh, God.
I am sort of breaking a rule of mine, but again, rules are there to be rules. Rules aren't 100%. And that is, don't lay points with bad teams. But I am going to lay points with the Citadel, and here's why. You know, they've played one of the weakest schedules. They played 4 non-division teams. They did beat Longwood. They did beat North Carolina A&T, and they are 6-0. They're playing very good offense. They're the number 4 team as far as tempo goes. But really, I am fading Presbyterian. Presbyterian's only played 4 games this year. They lost to Jacksonville on their road team. They beat 2 lower division teams. And this Presbyterian team, Quentin Farrell said, listen, guys, we are starting over. He is starting 3 true freshmen and 2 sophomore. He said, I want no JUCOs. I want no transfers. I'm going to recruit kids, and I'm going to let them play this year. I think that's a situation where Citadel, with their pace, having the confidence at 6-0, playing a very young team, playing their first road game in 19 days with all those underclassmen, the Citadel minus the points.
Wow, man, Dave, did you ever think, man, Chicago State and the Citadel we're getting from Ralph Michaels, man? Unbelievable. Well, you listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Ralph. You anything in those 300s, man, you've been crushing it. So we are good to go.
Joe, that is actually, just so people know, that is actually one of my 4 college basketball games for tonight at WagerTalk.
Right?
So that. Well, one is football and then 4 college basketball. This is one of my actual late phone plays or customer client plays.
Make sure you guys check out them on Twitter, too, as well. Tony Mejia, Dave Koken, Ralph Michaels. Great information always showing up there, guys, on their Twitter pages. Tell you all the time, all the charts and the graphs and all the numbers that you see here on the show. You guys are, without a doubt, going to be seeing them there on their Twitter pages. Tony Mejia, Dave Koken, Ralph Michaels. I was going to piggyback off of you, Tony. I loved your write-up. I'm all over UCF as well. 1-9 against the number in the last 10 against any team with a winning record, Cincinnati. It is not the Cincinnati that we all knew and love under the former regime, shall we say. So I'm with you on UCF. I'm also, how do you not take the over in the Iowa-Purdue game here? I just, it's at 154 and a half. Luka Garza and company averaging 99 a game. I think Purdue can certainly add enough second chance points there to probably push this thing over the 155 total there. So there it is. Recap. Love it. Ralph Michaels going number 06. No. Don't jip him out of a number. Give him that 3 there. Give him the 366 Citadel. Or is that the game number? I can't tell. That's
the game number.
That's the game number. Okay, so game number 066. There you go. Sorry about that. Citadel laying the 5.5. Dave Koken is taking Bradley, going with the dogs again. Been very profitable for him, plus 10.5. Tony, San Diego State laying the 2.5. I'm on UCF, as is the Gold Sheet at plus 2.5. And again, guys, take advantage of that code CBB40 right now, whether it be college basketball, the bowl season. Get $40 off right now. Any 1-month all-access package at WagerTalk.com. So on behalf of Tony Mejia, we appreciate you, my friend. Looking forward to your NBA stuff coming out. More of your articles there, of course, at Gold Sheet. Dave Koken and Ralph Michaels. I'm Joe Raineri. Guys, make sure you hit the like button, hit that little bell in the upper right-hand corner. Come back and join us again tomorrow. We go ahead heading into the holiday weekend here with another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Good luck, fellas. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
It's not a secret how much free quality information WagerTalk, Sports Moma, and the Gold Sheet produce. And next up, we're giving out the WagerTalk College Basketball Guide. This might be the most informative collection of sports betting info we've ever produced. We're covering returning starters, offensive, defensive, and tempo rankings, recruiting rankings, head coaching info and background, and so much more. Even if you are the casual basketball fan, head over to the Ralph Michaels page and download this amazing guide for free.